questions, and we'll do the questions in the second half. Okay, so today's theme is we just launched literally this week, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, in the last 48 hours, we launched a new update to the effective pricing software. So I'm going to be walking you through what are the new features. I can see Robin's here from Moscow, so where it's raining it's either raining or snowing all the time, isn't it, Robin, for you? And Kim's here from Canada. Sandra, I did see you ask a question, so I'm just going to star that so I don't miss it. I will come back to your question, Sandra, in a little while. Actually, I think it's a question for Sarah. I'll leave that with Sarah to answer that one because it's not about the software. So that's Sandra's question. So if you're brand new, if you have no idea what effective pricing does, then it's software that's designed for you to give a price with confidence, a price based on the value of what you do, and agree a price in the meeting with a client. And I will show you a quick quote because it actually enables me to show you one of the new features. So if I just dive across to the software right now, so this is the home page, and so let's say I wanted to price. I don't know. I'm going to choose forecasting. I've had a client. They've been in for the meeting. They want me to do a forecast for them. I've gone through and explained what I do. I've built up the value of doing forecasting, and the only thing left to agree now is the price. So I'm going to use my forecasting model. If you're brand new, you can price pretty much anything. You can create pricing models for pricing any service. The limit is your imagination, your creativity. So anyway, I've got forecasting, and I'm going to go into and hit that particular model, and I'm going to choose the client's name. And the first thing that's brand new that you will notice, and this is a big thank you to David Colts, it was his idea, when you go to do a new quote for a client, you'll see at the bottom there's a section called keywords, and I've got first year end date. And so now this is forecasting. I picked a bad example. I should have picked something like tax returns. Let's say this was tax returns. I've chosen forecasting. If it was my tax returns model, and if I was doing the tax return giving a price for the 2021 tax return, for example, I would put 2021 in, because that then becomes a keyword that will go into the proposal. I'll tell you that later. I'll show you. It's a brand new feature, but I just want you to be aware that when you start a brand new quote, you can capture additional information, and as much information as you want. So I've just put in one thing here as a starting point. You can capture additional information about the quote that you can put in the proposal. So that was just put in there. I did that as a test earlier. I'll show you how you do it later. Let's just carry on with the proposal. So I've got Joe Bloggs has come in. He wants me to do a forecast. Well, 2021 will do. A forecast for 2021. So I might ask him some questions that will help me to determine things like the scope of the work and things that he wants. I might want to know, why does he want a forecast? Perhaps he's a new business startup. Perhaps he wants to go and do a 2-year forecast. Perhaps he wants a forecast and a forecast of cash flow and profit. And the price can be changed based on all the things that the client wants. We might also give some other choices, and I might say to the client, would you like us to model different accounts payable, different accounts receivable, different stock or inventory levels, and so on and so forth. We can ask a bunch of questions to find out what the client wants, and then we offer them a choice of our packages. So I've got 3 packages here. And we can then, once the client's chosen a package, you might say, do you know what, I want the middle option. That full forecasting is the right one for me. We hit fixed price, and it now reveals the price, which is, in this case, 3 payments of $594, and I've got it set to US dollars. 3 payments of $594. And either the client says yes or no. If they say yes, great, you've made a sale. If they say no, it's not a problem, because we could offer a different package, or we could go back and change something. We might say it's $594 because you wanted to model different accounts receivable. And if you want a slightly simpler forecast, if we don't do that, then it's only $540. And we can go back, and what we can do is we can then work with the client. We can go backwards and forwards and change things. And we could say, well, I know you said you only really need a cash flow forecast for the next 12 months. If we changed it to that, it won't be $594. It would just be $300. So the idea is we work with the client until we get to a point where they agree the price. So let's imagine he's happy with that. I'm going to select that plan. Now we can offer the upsells. We can offer other things. I'm going to keep it simple for now and assume the client doesn't want anything else. We can agree the payment plan. We can change things. We can add things like an upfront payment, back-end payments, all sorts of stuff. I'm going to leave it for now. We can then confirm exactly what they've agreed to, how they've answered the questions, and then we're done. That's it. We're finished with the client. When the client leaves, then what we can do is we can create a proposal. And at this stage, what we want to do is we can choose which proposal that we want to. We can create proposal templates. And this is where I'm going to be talking more about this in a little while. Let's give this proposal a title forecast. And at this point, I'm doing the proposal now for this particular client. If I want to, I can edit it and make changes. I'm not going to. I'm just going to hit save and continue. And what we can now see, it'll now start to pull all the keywords together, all the information, and it'll create my proposal for this particular client, Joe Blogs, today's date. And in here, it's pulled in all the keywords. It's got in the price that's been agreed. There's also appendices which set out and confirm how the questions were answered. Things like what they're getting in the package they've chosen and what they don't get, the ticks and the crosses. We can also see, I didn't look at behavior rewards and upsells, but they would be in there. And if there weren't any, I could delete those pages before I send it to the client for signing. So that's the process, that's the purpose of the software for agreeing a price with the client, and then afterwards we can create a proposal. So the new features, much of the new features that we've just released this week are largely proposal based, but there's a couple of other things that I want to tell you and show you about. So the first things, if I go back into the software, if I go into the cogwheel at the top is where we set everything up. And one of the things that you might want to set up is under theme and design. That's the second section along of the settings. This is where you can change the effective pricing logo and upload your logo to make it look like it's your software. You can change the color schemes so the software's got your branding. Here's the two new things. The first one, which David Colt suggested, we've not tested this one, David, so I'm going to ask you to test it and give feedback. And there's a reason why we can't test this. But one of the issues that David picked up on is because of time zone differences. If you're in Texas, for example, and you do a proposal in the evening, that's then flicked to the next day UK time, and the proposal dates are based on UK time. So now, you only have to do it once, but if you set your time zone where you are in the world, then David, what that should do is if you are working late into the evening and do a proposal, then it will keep it at your date, not the UK date. Okay, so it'd be great if you could just test that, David, just to check it does work. We weren't able yesterday to nip across to Texas and test it. Okay, but subject to David saying that's good, then you may want to go and do that and just set your time zone. It's not critically important, but it does make sure that your proposal dates are the right date. The other thing that's in here as well that we've done is when you do create proposals, you now have control over the format of the date. So you will see date format. And what we've done for you is created a whole bunch of different dates. And what we've also done, or what Emily's done for you, is she's created a little user guide with all the new features that I'm going to run through today. And there's a table in here that shows what's on that drop-down list, and on the right-hand side, what the date will look like. So if you like your dates to be something like 1 May 2021, you can choose that. Okay, so it's a one-off, again, it's a one-off setting. It's how you want your dates to be shown in the proposal. Okay, let's move on to what's the next feature we're going to cover. Right, let's go back to these keywords that, again, this was a feedback from David. It was a great idea. So when you do, let's go back into the software. When you do proposals, your proposal templates will have keywords. That means that it will insert various pieces of information. And by default, the software has some default keywords. So you can have a keyword where it automatically puts in, for example, the date of the quote, the name of the client, the address details of the client. There's certain keywords that have been set up in advance which will automatically be pulled into your proposal, your fixed price agreement, engagement letter, whatever it is that you're creating. But you've always been able to create additional ones. So if I go into the settings again, there's a section called Keyword Manager. If I just click in here, and this is where you can set additional keywords up. Keywords, as many different keywords as you want. So I've just got some crazy things you might want to know. For example, what's the favorite color of your client? You might want to know what their first name is. There's information you might want to store about clients. And before the change that we made, the way that you then entered those keywords is if you would go into a client. So I'm now going to go into the clients, and if I was to edit, for example, Joe Blogs, when you go into a client's details, you've got all the standard details that we ask by default. So you can put in, if you want to, the client's name, their address details, and these can then be pulled automatically into the proposals. But there's a separate tab where you can also create as many keywords as you want. So things like, what is your favorite color? So if I was to put in blue here, and if I decided in my proposal to have a section that says this is your favorite color, it would put in blue for Joe Blogs. Now that's a crazy example, but as you can see, there's perhaps some other ones that are more useful, like what is their goal, for example. First name's a good one because we didn't actually put that in as a default one. We just had the full client name. So if you want to put their first name in and have the proposal more in the format of more of the format of a letter, hi there, Joe, then you could create a keyword called where you put Joe. So that's what keywords did before the last 48 hours. But now, what we can now have is 3 levels of keywords. So if I just go back into Keyword Manager, when you create a brand new keyword, there are now, you'll see there's a middle column called type. And every time you create a keyword, there are 3 types, 3 different levels. So client is at the client level. That's information you want to store about a particular client. So for example, you might have the spouse's name, and so if you want that in your a particular proposal, perhaps you want the spouse's name in your tax return proposals, then it would always put in the spouse's name for each client. But you can also now set company and quote. So every time you create a keyword, I'll just edit financial year end date. So before, financial year end date would have been at the client level, but now we can set them at the quote and the company level. If it's the company level, it's information about you. This is where you might put your website address, for example, and then rather than hard typing it into your proposals, you could put it as a keyword, which might be useful if it's something you may change from time to time. The most useful one, I think, is the quote one. You can have keywords that are at the quote level, not based on the client, but the quote itself. And the one you saw earlier was the year. So if you're doing tax returns, you could specify which tax return is this proposal for. And as you saw earlier, once you've set that up as a keyword, when you set up quote keywords, you then enter the information at the start when you do a quote. As soon as you sit down with a client to price, let's say, tax returns, as well as the usual features like which client is it, what's the date, there'll be all this extra information that you can collect. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. What should we move on to next? The next thing I want to tell you about, okay, all the rest of the features are now to do with proposals specifically. So what I'm going to do is go into the proposal template. So you saw earlier, if you're brand new, I did a demo quote for forecasting. We agreed a price. I then produced a proposal. If we go into proposal templates, this is where you can see all the templates that you've created. You can grab ones that we've created for you at the bottom and make them yours, and you can build your proposals. So we created. Emily's created a couple earlier. We're still playing around with this and exploring the possibilities. There's lots of new stuff coming in here, which opens up a whole load of possibilities. I'm just going to click on this one at the bottom and edit it. And at this stage, you just give it a name, and I'll leave it at that for now. So what have we changed with the proposals? Okay, the first thing that we've changed is when you are, let me think, yeah. When you're on a proposal, there's this little abacus symbol. By the way, all instructions we've put in a little user guide, which Emily's going to put into the comments box. So all these things I'm going to cover right now. Don't worry if you get lost. There's a simple user guide with all these new features. So there's a little abacus symbol, which is where you can change the global settings for your particular proposal. So I'm in the settings section. This is the bit on the left-hand side, and we can set various things here. One of the things we can choose to have is a header and or footer. If I click on edit, we can have a footer. And one of the things this was an idea that came from Zeb Smith. Zeb Smith said, can we have 3 sections within the footer? Something on the left, something on the right, and something on the middle. We had that, I think, in the headers, but not the footers. And so now you can have 3 separate sections. You can put, if you want, some free text. So you might want to, let me say, I can't do the copyright symbol because I can't remember it, but you might have a copyright symbol and then your firm name. Okay, there is a copyright symbol on your keyboard. You could figure that one out. So you might want a copyright symbol. You might want your keywords, and that is. For some reason on my screen's really white and I can't see the boxes, but I know you can. I can see it now on my preview. And we could also choose a keyword. So we might want, for example, the client's name in the footer on every single page. So we have these 3 elements, and then we can choose which one do we want on the bottom left, the bottom right, and the center. So you can have up to 3 elements in your footer. You choose what those elements are, a keyword, a page number, yes or no, and some free text, and you can choose the order. So that's the first feature that's new with the headers and footers. You now have these 3 sections. The other thing that you couldn't do before is you can now change the font color. So before, headers and footers could only be black, and that might be fine. From a personal point of view, and I requested this one because personally I like the footer, the page number, to be a little bit lighter in color, a gray color. So now we can change the colors of our footers. And is there anything? Yeah, change the font color. Okay. So that's the next. So we've got a bit more flexibility with footers. Let me just save and exit that. Okay. Next thing that we can do, and then we'll get on to the big things. The next thing we can do is when you have text. So let me just move across for a second. When you have text in your proposals, one of the things you can now do, if I hit the pencil icon to edit it and I highlight some text and we get the editing options, there's a new option appeared here, which is the 2 chains linked together. So what you can do now is you can build in a link to somewhere, your website, for example, and that will then become a clickable link in the PDF proposal. So you can put hyperlinks into your proposals. Okay, let's get on to the big stuff now. So the big things that have changed are when you do your proposals, and I just need to, let's just go back to on the left-hand side. This is the general settings where you can set things like the header and the footer for the proposal. But the big things that we can now set are, we can now choose, as well as we've got A4, US letter size, there was an issue with that. That's now fixed. We can also choose 16 by 9. And you might be thinking, well, why that? And you'll see. So you can choose the page size, but we can also choose the orientation. So you might not want a portrait one. You might want a landscape-based proposal. I'm going to show you why you might do that in a short while. And the other thing that you can do is you can now have control over the size of the margin, okay? Because one of the things that you might want to do is you might want to have some images and they bleed right to the margin. So let me show you with this one. Earlier today, Emily has just built this particular proposal. This is an A4 one. Let me just go to the final proposal, just so you could see what it looks like, and to give you an idea of the sorts of things that you could. Yeah. So just to give you an idea of the sorts of things that you could do from a design point of view when you build your proposal. So she created this one with a, let's stick with that. She created this with a made-up accountant's logo and color scheme. So you can create proposals that might look like this. If you want to meet the team page, for example, you obviously you wouldn't have images of me, you'd have images of your team there. But I'm just giving you an idea of what it could look like. So you can see you can have nice little images like on the one on the right-hand side that bleeds more to the edge because you can control the margins. So you can build some really beautiful proposals. And let me now show you one other one that we did earlier. So if I just go back to my list of proposals, just a little while ago, Emily also built another one. If I click on the edit and if I click save and continue. So one of the things you can do is you can make them landscape and 16 by 9. Let me show you what this one looks like. And it'll come up in a few seconds. It's just pulling together all the information stuff into a preview. Here we go. Here's the preview. If I just make it a little bit smaller, just so you can, oops, that's probably too small. So you can see you can now get images that bleed right to the edge. You can have them landscape. Those of you that are part of the Value Pricing Academy that create brochures, pricing brochures, you can make your proposals have a similar look and feel to your brochures. The difference, of course, being is that the proposals automatically pulls in the keywords, the prices, and so on. And you can get really creative with the design side of things. So again, Emily just did this in the last 24 hours. It's only gone live just recently, and she's been playing with it and creating some designs, different layouts of proposals. So if I just go back, I'll take this last page, for example. If I just go back to the editor and pick to view that last page, what Emily's done is she's simply taken a couple of sections, pulled in a section, made it yellow or orange, a section which is blue, which isn't the size in the proposals. It'll fit this 16 by 9. And then what she's done is she's had a blank section. She's created 4 columns, pulled in an image. Now, of course, you just put in lorem ipsum, but you would have whatever text you want and insert your keywords, whatever it might well be. But you can, so those of you familiar with the software will know this. You'll be familiar with all this editing, but it's the fact that whilst it might seem a simple change, the fact that you can change the orientation, the page size, and the margins, it opens up so many possibilities for doing great proposals. So I'm going to come to Q&A in a second and answer questions. Before I do that, just a couple of points. So there's a huge amount of flexibility now with creating beautiful proposals. However, there's a but. If you want to create great proposals with flexibility, it does take a little bit of time just to work out things like the page sizes. Now, one of the things that Emily has done to make your life easier, if I just flick across to here in the user guide, and this will tell you all the features and how to use these new features. One of the things that Emily has kindly done for you, if I can find it, I think it's at the end. So let me just, I'll get there. She's given you some notes on different pixel dimensions to fill the screen with an image. And of course, it depends whether you're going to go for portrait, landscape. Are you going to go for US size? Are you going to go for A4 size, 16 by 9? It also depends upon as well whether or not you choose to have a footer. So actually, that was one of the things I was going to show you is if I just go back to this this proposal. So Emily designed this one. This is the 16 by 9 one, so that there's a white bar at the bottom. I don't know how well you can read the text, but that's got a footer in there. If you didn't want the footer, you might want a bigger image so the image just fills the screen, or you might want the footer. It's entirely up to you, but what Emily's done in the guidance notes, she's told you what the pixel sizes are. So the good news is you've got a huge amount of flexibility. But if you want to get really clever and do beautiful proposals, you're gonna need to know what size images to bring in, and therefore you need to have some understanding of tools like Canva and how you can do that. The good news is once you've done it, once you've created your proposal and you're happy with it, and it's got all the right keywords in, once you've done it, you will probably use the same proposal over and over and over again. But it might take a little bit of setting up in the first place, particularly if you're not familiar with images, Canva, and how you can create the right images. So two things for you that we're going to make your life easier. Number one is Emily's agreed, because those of you that know, those of you in the academy know that Emily's a genius with things like Canva and so on. And some of you have been asking, can we do some training on how we create images to put them in our brochures into effective pricing proposals and so on? And the answer is yes. What we're going to do is some of these Friday sessions, Emily's going to run them. And what she'll do is she'll answer your questions and show you how to take your images, make them the right size in Canva, and then how to get them into your proposals. All that clever stuff. Okay, if you want to do it yourself, then Emily will be doing some sessions. She'll do some live sessions and answer your questions, and she'll also do some videos as well. So we will help you if you want to do that yourself. The other thing, if you're interested, if you'd rather have somebody else just build your proposal in the software, we are going to, we're considering at the moment, we're just talking about Emily offering a service where she'll build your proposals. And she just needs to figure out what that would be price-wise to cover the time, because it takes a few hours to build a proposal. But what she's offered is that for two people, and it'll be whoever's interested, for two people, it'll be first come, first served to reach out to Emily. She's happy to build a proposal for you inside the software, and she'll do it for just $100, or the UK equivalent to that figure, $100 US. If you like Emily, if you want to be one of two people where she'll spend the next couple of weeks just building your proposal into the software, then she'll do it for $100. You'll need to send her various bits of information like your images, your photos, whatever you want in there, and she will build that out for you. And then in due course, at some point, we might have a more formal service where she can do that if you want her to do it. Okay, that's proposals. I'm really excited because I think that there's so many wonderful things we can do from the design point of view. It's just playing around with it and getting it just right. If it were me, I wouldn't play around. I'd get someone like Emily to do it because I'm too busy with other stuff. But if you like playing around with stuff, you can have some real fun with images and pulling them into the proposals. Okay, let's move on to questions. So I can see the chat box just gone mad right now, and probably lots of people saying, go Emily. Right. Let's see where we got to with questions. Oh, crikey, there's a lot of stuff, isn't there, I think. Right, so a lot of comments. A few people thanking David for his great. David's great because he's always coming up with ideas for the software. He's got lots of other ideas, by the way, that are on the development board. So there will be more stuff coming soon. That's all thanks to David's great ideas. So Judy says, and I don't know, this is not a question for me, actually, I don't think. Are the South Africans using the standard pricing as per the proposal? Unless there's other South Africans here, like Elnese, for example, here, I don't know what others are doing. But just so you know, Judy, I didn't show it, but in the software and effective pricing, in the settings, you can choose what currency you express it in. So you wouldn't use US dollars. You'd have, is it capital R for Rand? And then you would obviously change the prices to be more, because there's a big difference in the numbers between South African Rand and the US dollars. I don't know if that's helped you. I don't know if that's helped your question, Judy, because your question was said, are the South Africans using that? I would suggest what you might want to do is post that in the Facebook group, because there are a lot of people in the academy who are from South Africa. Sybil says, what does Sybil say? Can I change my logo for different groups of clients? I want to keep my tax clients under my current brand, but rebrand for accounting, bookkeeping, and consulting clients. Ooh, good. Yes and no. Yes and no. Within the software itself, so if I just flick across the software, so you'll see in the top left is the effective pricing logo. And it's got then this orangey bar underneath it. So that's the and then the buttons at the bottom where it says download a complete are orange. So you can change those colors to suit your firm. You can have your logo in the top left, and you can have your buttons and so on, whatever color you want to suit your brand. But you can only do that once. You can only have one logo for the software. If you wanted the software itself to have multiple different branding, you'd have to buy extra copies of the software. But if you're talking about just your proposals, then, correct me if I'm wrong, Emily, but I guess you could do, because when you create a proposal, so let me just go. I don't know if it. I don't know if it's an example I can use, Emily, because you built this one out. But let me just pick a different proposal, which one of the older ones. So if I go to, let's just take this one on fixed price advisory. So in the header, I've got my logo effective pricing in the top left of this particular proposal template. And if you want to change it, then, so by default, what it does, if you have an image, in this case it says effective pricing, it will automatically by default use whatever you've put in the top left. So if your logo's in the software, it'll automatically pull it in when you insert an image. But we can change that for any image. So you could swap out that to a different logo if you want to. And so given that with proposals, you can create as many proposals as you want. So you might have a standard proposal for bookkeeping work, but then you clone it multiple times because you've got your bookkeeping proposal with brand A and then your second with brand B. So the proposals, you can change them so they've got different images, different colors. Hopefully that helps Sybil with that particular one. Clifford says, where can I get a demo of the software? We don't do demos of the software, and the reason for that is because I wrote the software primarily for people in the Value Pricing Academy. People in the Value Pricing Academy get it as a gift from me because it helps them to implement the things that I teach with value pricing. We don't do trial versions of the software, and we don't. And if it's a demo you want, that's these sessions, Clifford. So if you want a demo of the software, I suggest you, if you perhaps reach out to us and say, what would you like us to show? And then in one of our next sessions, we'll build the whole theme of the Friday session in me doing a demo to show you what you want to see. I started off today, Clifford, with the first couple of minutes. I went through and showed you how you do a proposal. I know I did it fast because most people here have been using the software for a long time, but we will probably do a beginner session at some point where we can go through that bit a little bit slower. Okay, what's next? I'm not sure what, Emily, you meant by option plus G. I'll probably missed something there. Okay, let me look for QQs. Jessica's really excited by hyperlinks, which is cool. David, okay, so question from David. Where do we add values for the company level keywords in the software? And do you happen to know the keyword value length that can be stored? Question number 2, I don't know what the length is. Emily, can you make a note of that and then find out? And as far as the first one, I actually think there may be a bug that needs fixing. I'll get Emily just to test it one more time, David, but where you go to put in the company information at your level, you go into My Profile. And under My Profile now, David, there's a new section called Keywords. And Emily, I just looked at that earlier. I think it might be pulling in the wrong set of keywords. Can you check it, Emily? It'll be a really quick fix. It'll be done by probably Monday. or Tuesday of next week, if that's wrong. But it would be you go into keywords, and that's where you would set them, David. Okay, next question we have is from Jessica. Jessica says, can I edit the margin on a per page basis? For example, have an image bleed to the edge on the cover page, but have a standard margin on the rest of the documents. I think the answer is no to that one. Emily, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the answer is no. It's those settings I showed you with margins is for the whole, setting the whole document, not for individual pages. Now, is also, and I've not played with this, Emily knows it better than me, but when you create individual sections like text sections, you want a text box, an image box, there's also, you can control the margin on that as well. And there's a note to that effect in the user guide that Emily wrote. So I don't think you can change the margin as a whole globally on an individual page by page basis. I say I don't think because Emily might have figured out a way where you can do that. But assume the answer is no for now. And it's something that, if that's something that you'd like to do, we can put it on the development board. A lot of the ideas that we've had today have come from people giving ideas like David and Zeb. Okay, Lynn says, how do you get the keywords function to show up on the model start screen? Do we need to run an update to our end of the software, or will you be update in the next few days? Lynn, okay, so I think what Lynn's saying is, if I go to price something, let me just turn on the software. If I go to price something, let's say I want to agree a price for, let me go to the home page first. Let's say I want to agree a price for payroll. I'll use a payroll model. I've got this section keywords, which will pull up all the quote level keywords, Lynn. And so that's available to you immediately now, but nothing will appear there for you until you've set up some quote level keywords. So you'll need to get creative and think about, well, what sort of information would I want to get at that quote level? And some sort of year-end date would probably make sense. What year is this for? And so you'd want to think through what they will be and then set them up in Keyword Manager. Once you've set them up there, every time you do a new proposal, a new quote, then you'll be prompted to complete that information if you want to. Okay, thank you for the question, Lynn, and the clarification. Right. I don't know if this is a question or not from Sandra. They're going to get one of their kids to figure it out. Can I let you know? Not quite sure what that is. I'm going to assume that's something to do with letting Emily know, but I'm not sure. David Colt's question says, any current discussion on a time frame for Zapier integration, especially with Practice Ignition? No, and we are doing the next development. I think is starting next week, but that's going to be integrations with QBO and Xero is the next thing that we're doing. I think there was a problem or an issue with linking to Zapier, and I can't think what it would be. Or was that Practice Ignition? Let me go back to developers on that one, David. I'm not quite sure. But the next sprint, the next thing we're working on is QBO and Xero integration, which means that once you've agreed the price, agreed the proposal, and you've set out the payment terms, you can push it straight through to one of those two tools. Right, what else have we got? I saw Nancy said, how do we reach out to Emily? I have no idea, actually, because this has only just gone live in the last 48 hours. This morning, Emily started creating the things that we've showed you. What we will do is, when we've played with it a bit more, well, when Emily has, and we've created some really nice proposals, we'll push them out through to your end. So just like right now, when you go into
update for you.
An update for me from, yep.
Yep, so people have been emailing me. I've forwarded the emails on to Emily, and those two places have now, I think, been filled.
Okay, thank you. Emily's now got enough work on her plate, so if you wanted to do your proposals, you might have to go on a waiting list. So I apologise about that. Right, where was I? I've lost track of where I was now. What was I talking about? Oh, yes, I know. Yes, so I said that we'll push out the designs as we create them. So when you go into the proposal section at the back end, we've created, as you can see at the bottom, 3 templates that you could start with. A single one-page payment plan, a one-page draft proposal, and then a full agreement, a full fixed price agreement that we've called the Rocket theme, which has been around for a long time now. So what we will do is we'll create some more themes, some more designs for you of different proposals, which will appear in this space in due course. And when they do, you just hit use template. And so for those of you that are brand new, what happens if you like the templates we've created, then you can hit use template. So let me just do this. So if you like the fixed price agreement Rocket theme, and I'll just click on it. And if you don't, you can always delete it, by the way, afterwards. So what it does is it clones it, and you can tell it's cloned it because it's put the current date at it. So you can change this to whatever name you want. You might want to call this, I'm just going to put test now to remind me to delete it, but you can change the proposal to whatever you want. And this is the Rocket theme. You can edit it, change the text. It's just a suggestion to get you started. You can change that in any way that you want. Hit the save. And if I just go back to the list of proposals, so that was just grabbing this template here, and you'll see it's up here now somewhere. What did I call it? Straight away I've forgotten what I called it. Oh, at the bottom. Yeah. So if you see towards the bottom, I'm just highlighting it. What effectively happens when you hit the orange button, it clones it, it copies it, and it's yours. So this is what we're going to do over the next few months as Emily creates some great proposal templates that we think that you'll be able to use. Then they'll appear in this list here, and you can then grab them and use them. Okay, I'm not sure that was a question. I went off a tangent. I apologize. I sometimes do that. Right, where do we get to? Sarah Kelly says, what does Sarah say? Will the updates document be available in the effective pricing training on your website? I suppose it should be. I mean, for now, because again, it's hot. This is hot off the press. Emily created that user guide, that help guide for you, literally, I think today. So, I mean, this is it. It just finished off this morning. So she will put the link to this somewhere in the comments. You should be able to get it now. She'll put it in the description once we've finished, perhaps on Monday or Tuesday. We'll put it in the description. And yes, Sarah, we'll put it in the training site as well. So we'll make it available in lots of different places. And as also, what we'll also do in the description for this video, I think Emily's going to do, is a few months back we created a checklist, or a getting started checklist, which is a series of checklists for if you're brand new to the software to help you get up and running quicker. We'll put the link to that document as well in various places. And Emily might, knowing her, have put it in the comments box already. Okay. What other questions have we got? I'm looking for QQ. If you've not put QQ in front, I might miss it because there's lots of stuff going on. People saying, Emily, I want some help, which is always the way. Okay, Valentina. Hi there, Valentina. She says, at what time will be the integration with Sage or Free Agent? It's not on the plan at the moment, I'm afraid, just because almost everybody in the Value Pricing Academy, as far as I'm aware, uses either Zero or QBO. From all of the past feedback I've had from people, not many people use Sage or Free Agent. I've done polls in the past, and it's really a minority of people. So if that's important to you, send an email to Sarah. We'll put it on the development board, and we have this Trello board with all the things that people request. And then every couple of months, we start another development cycle. We sit down with developers and say, what's the cost of doing this particular thing? And then we pick things that benefit the most number of people. If it's something that's not going to benefit many people, but it's quite easy and quick to do, then we'll build that in as well. So just reach out, Valentina, send an email in, say, please, could you do this? And we'll add it to the development board. Kathy says, fingers crossed for Practice Ignition integration. That probably won't happen. And the reason for that is because the developers have already looked at Practice Ignition, and Practice Ignition doesn't have any way to actually integrate. We have talked to Practice Ignition before about it, and they were going to do something a few years back, and it never actually materialized. However, if you watch the video, we did the webinar a few months back with David Pankovic. He walked through, and it's an amazing webinar, he walked through his whole process of how he does proposals, quotes proposals inside Effective Pricing, and then how he integrates it with Practice Ignition. And it's actually quite quick to do. So I'm not sure you need an integration. Just follow the system that David Pankovic follows to integrate the two together. And if you're not sure where that video is, probably Emily will post a link to it at some point. It's a really good video. Right, what else have we got? David's got a question. So David says, any discussion on adding a master quote based on combined prepared quotes from different models for a client? Okay, so if I've got this right, David, is this the idea you shared a couple of months ago now, perhaps earlier on this year, about, oh no, it might not be, combining quotes into kind of one master proposal payment plan? If that's the case, if that's what you're referring to, it's a great idea. It's a really big project. It's definitely on the list. It's something we will do at some point in time. I just can't say when that will be. Okay, Carlton Accounting Services. I'm not sure what your first name is. If we have a client that would like to use the software for pricing services in their organization, could they, or would we need to create a template for them to use? Okay, so one of the things that I think is really exciting about Effective Pricing is that you can create a version of the software for your clients. And I created this because I have a program called Price Consulting, where I teach accountants, bookkeepers, how they could offer an advisory service helping their clients with pricing, because most business owners have no idea how to price. And one of the things that you can do as part of that is you could implement a pricing system for the client. In other words, what you could do is get a copy of the software and then put their logo on it, their color scheme. And I don't know if I can do this quickly or not. Forgive me, because I wasn't actually prepared for this. Let me just try this a different way and see if this will. Yeah, okay. So if I just flick across for a second. So this is another version of the software I've set up. This is for a consulting business. It's a made-up logo called Red House Consulting. And you can see how comparing that to that, so the default colors are got Effective Pricing. When you change it, you can make it look like that, for example. And then what you can do is let me just get rid of this announcement message. You can then, when you're building your pricing models, the limits your imagination. So I actually built one a little while ago for a business that might be a marketing business that does Facebook ads. And so there's one called Facebook Domination, and it's got questions like, let me just pick a client. So that might be questions like, who do you want to manage the project? How often do you want to check it in on Zoom? How many ad campaigns do you want to run every single year? So really, you literally could price anything with this software, any service. So a lawyer could use it, a graphic designer could use it, a driveway constructor could use it, a landscape gardening business could use it. And what you could therefore do is charge a fee for setting the client up, and you could charge a recurring fee for ongoing support and of course the cost of the software, and you can charge whatever you want. So you could have a very profitable revenue stream helping your clients with pricing and setting up pricing models. Now, if you're interested in finding out more about that, we did a Friday live session on that exact topic about 2 months ago now, and the recording's on my YouTube channel. So again, Emily, I don't know if you can grab the link to it or not easily, but there is a session we did It might not be easy to find, Emily, because we didn't give it a name at that point, but we can dig it out, we can find it, and or you can always just reach out to us and we can talk more about that. But if anyone is interested, we could always do another session if there's enough interest on how you can create models for your clients and charge a consulting fee and turn it into a revenue opportunity. Just reach out if that would be of interest to you, and it's something we can then do a future Friday live session again and get detailed on that. Nancy loves the question from David. So David, I need to understand your question better, I think, and make sure I've answered it right, or whether it's something else that I've just got the wrong end of the stick, which I sometimes do. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. We have 8 minutes left. Okay. There's 3 Sage users. That must be all the Sage users around. I hardly come across Sage users. David says, I must have missed this when you mentioned it. When will the software update be released to the public? The updates are a big time saver and game changer. That should be now. If you go now, we updated it. When was it? It's either 24 hours ago or 48 hours. It's in the last day or two. It really is hot on the press. You should see it, David, if you go in now. Go and play with it. Okay. Now, this is a long one from Jan, so forgive me while I just check this one out. This sentence, for clarification of page 2, sets out exactly what we will do for you as part of our package. Prints out with the level. Is there a keyword to have... Oh, hang on. Question. Is there a keyword to have the words bookkeeping package or setup package come after that word coming from the keyword package? I need to have a look at that, Jan, or perhaps Emily could have a look at it and get back to you separate. I'm sure there is a way to change the words, but given that we've got 7 minutes left, it might take me a while to figure that one out. It's not an easy one to answer just on the immediately, Jan, but we will help you out with that. We are going to be, and again, this is David's idea, which I really like, there's going to be some more keywords coming soon, standard keywords that pull in. So when you pull in things like the quote date, the price, there are some things that there aren't keywords available for. Sarah?
I think that I can answer that. We put that text,
Jan's.
Yeah, we put that text in there. And
you can come here and answer if you want.
No, it's fine, I'm happy. We put that text in there when we created the template, and we missed the word package out. So the keyword pulls in premium, full or essential, but you will need to edit that and put the word package there, because I don't think there is a keyword where you can put package.
Okay.
It's just a word that we missed out.
So Jan, I don't know if you heard that or not. Sarah was kind of off camera just talking that through, but it probably is a really, really simple fix, because it's the template that we created. Let me just go back. If I go to, so it was in the fixed price agreement rocket theme. Let me just grab one random. I've got so many test ones here, so it's difficult to know which one to pull up. But I think all you need to do, if I've understood what Sarah said correct, if I go to page number 2, if you just find wherever your proposal is, and if I go to page 2, is it page 2? No, it's not. It's page 1. It's got, I'm looking for the keyword package. Here we go. So I think it's this sentence right in the middle. I think you can see a little circle moving around. I think that all you need to do is hit the pencil icon to hit edit and move the cursor into there and type the word package. Hit the save button, and that's probably giving you what you want, Jan. Okay, it's probably just that word package is missing. Okay, so I hope I understood that one right. It was quite a long one, but yeah, I think that is. Okay, all you need to do is do that in your proposal, hit the save button, and then it's always going to be exactly how you want it. Right, let me move on. We've got 4 minutes left. I can see lots of people saying yes, please, on the software model. Sage as well. Quite, that's 4 Sage users. Right, that'll teach me right for making assumptions that nobody uses Sage these days. Janine says, updates are live. I've been playing with it as Mark goes through the steps. Okay, awesome. Would love to see that video. Oh, it's Yvette. Okay, Yvette. That video, I think you mean, is the session from about 12 weeks ago. Yeah, if Emily can find it, then we'll put the link to it, and if not, we'll get it to you somehow. Joe, what does Joe say? Do you have a pricing structure for a client pricing software service? And yes, please, can we have a session on this? Do you have a pricing structure for a client pricing software service? I don't have any pricing models for businesses outside the accounting profession. When I teach price consulting and through the Value Pricing Academy, hopefully I give you the skills that you need to be able to figure it out. So the answer is no, I don't. But what I would do is, if I was sat down with a client, I'm going to pick a different one. A landscape gardener. If I had a landscape gardener as a client and they want to make more money and they want to build a pricing model, I would start off by saying, okay, so if we were to go to bronze, silver, gold, what sort of packages could you build? So I'd build the packages first with the core elements. Then I'd say, okay, next thing I want to figure out is what impacts on the scope of the work? What are the questions we should ask the customer? Like, for example, how big is the garden would be a question. So we just ask the client, what are the scope factors? What things affect the work? The client will know that. And then we might say, so what are the choices might we give them? And I might say, for example, would you want to give your customer the option to choose as part of the landscaping whether they want a fountain or not, or a statue or not, or these flowers or these flowers? And then you could build those as optional questions, upsell. So it's really about you working with the client to understand what might be things that could build up the price, and then building it into the model. And this is valuable stuff, and you can charge very premium prices for doing this. This could be, you could easily charge the client 3, 4, 5 grand for setting up a model and helping with their pricing, because this can make a huge difference to businesses. So Joe, we'll do more sessions on all of that. Don't worry, at some point, if there's interest in it. Thank you for confirming, David. I did correctly answer it. It was to do with that idea you shared. We have 2 minutes. I might only have time for 1 or 2 more questions. I'm seeing lots of comments with Emily's name. Emily, you're going to be busy again, I think. Thank you, Lynn, for saying awesome feature update. I appreciate that. And it says, oh, right, Yvette says, you're the best, Emily, because you've already done that and put that link somewhere. Robin, this might be the last question. Oh, it's not even, no, it's not, it's Emily. Sorry, ignore that. It's not even a question. It was a question from Emily to Robin. I think that might be the last question. I'm just kind of hovering for a bit because I know that with live streams, there's about a 15-second delay, but I don't think there's any more questions come in. So I'm going to bring things to an end. We usually end with a little piece of music. And so if you want to carry on putting some comments in, if you found this valuable, please give it the thumbs up, whether you're in YouTube or Facebook, then I'll just know whether I'm delivering value. Give it the thumbs up. If you've got requests for future sessions while the next 3 minutes of music's playing out, please type in the comments box what you would like me to teach you next within the software, because we design these themes based on, what do you want to know? We're here to help you. Okay, have an awesome weekend. I will see you at some point next week. If you're not in the Value Pricing Academy, a great session to come to will be our Wednesday session, where we'll look at how to build a business club online and business advisory. It'll be a great session if you're not in the Value Pricing Academy. Have an awesome weekend. Goodbye for now.
I wasted all my time, I wasted all my nights, I wasted it on someone who's indifferent. He didn't love me right, he told me I was blind, but I never really wanted to listen.